Hey Star Trek fans, Dan Gunther here. Welcome back to the channel and another week in Trek. This week we have some new details about the upcoming Section 31 film, an expansion of the Roddenberry Archive project, and some business news that may paint the picture of the future of Paramount. Also, new Star Trek on television this week as Discovery's 5th season continues. But first, the news.
You're the captain of the most important space station in the entire Federation. You're news.
Last week, thanks to that big Variety article we got, we saw our first image of the Michelle Yeoh-led Section 31 film, featuring her character of Georgiou interacting with another, at the time unknown character, whom we only see from behind. We have since learned that this character is played by Canadian actor Joe Pingay, who referenced this photo on his Instagram this past week. We have also learned that the character's name is Dada No. Beyond that, however, much is still unknown, both about this character in particular and about the rest of the production. We did get some very broad details about the film, however, thanks to an appearance by Michelle Paradise and Olatunde Osunsanmi at the recent WonderCon in Anaheim. When asked about how Section 31 fits in with the other Star Trek shows and movies, Osunsanmi had this to say: "All these Treks are a little different. This one is definitely different, but it's still Trek, and we just finished shooting just a week and a half ago, and it is awesome." So, like I said, nothing really concrete as far as details go. I expect that as Discovery's 5th season continues, and that show starts to wind down in terms of PR, we'll start to see a lot more attention given to the upcoming Trek shows and films like Section 31. Stay tuned. If you haven't checked out the Roddenberry Archive lately, you are missing out. They have a ton of really fascinating Trek stuff going on over there, and they recently just added a huge expansion this past week. Deep Space Nine has now joined the archive, with a recreation of the huge promenade set that dominated Stage 17 of the Paramount lot back when DS9 was being filmed. There's a really fun preview of the interactive experience on YouTube, narrated by Quark himself, Armin Shimmerman, which I will link to in the description below. In addition to DS9's promenade, the Roddenberry Archive is also featuring a virtual bridge of the USS Discovery. There's a preview video on YouTube of that as well, which I will also link in the description. All of the environments in the Roddenberry Archive are available at roddenberry.x.io. The new editions are available for free for a limited time on both the web and on the Apple Vision Pro. Definitely worth checking them out. And finally, a bit of business news to close out this section of the video. A number of media outlets, including the New York Times, Deadline, and Bloomberg, are all reporting that Paramount has begun exclusive negotiations with Skydance Media for purchase of the studio. The CEO of Skydance, David Ellison, has reportedly been meeting with Sherry Redstone, the owner of the controlling share of Paramount Global's stock. Reports that Skydance is in the lead for a potential purchase of Paramount tracks with what we know of the two companies, as Sherry Redstone has expressed a preference for dealing with Skydance, given the pre-existing relationship between Paramount and Skydance. They have co-produced a number of feature films together, including the two most recent Star Trek films. It's unclear what effect this purchase would have on the future of the Star Trek franchise, but as always, we will bring you any news on this potential deal as the story continues to develop.
I suppose.
Trill. We're going to Trill.
Star Trek Discovery's 5th season continues this week with the 3rd episode. Jinaal continues the Discovery crew's efforts to keep the technology of the mysterious progenitors from falling into the wrong hands. Here's the synopsis for this week's episode. On Trill, Burnham, Book, and Culber must pass a dangerous test to prove themselves worthy of the next clue. Adira reconnects with Gray, and Saru's first day as ambassador is complicated by his engagement to Tarina. Jinaal drops on Paramount Plus on Thursday, April 11th, and we will of course bring you coverage of that episode here on Kertrats Productions. And that's a wrap on another week in Trek. Thank you to the Patreon supporters and to all my viewers for watching this week. I look forward to seeing you all again next week, and until then, as always, live long and prosper, my friends. A number of media outlets, including the New York Times, Deadline, and Bloomberg